Here at the Bainbridge Island Senior Community Center, we're actually having a week-long, well, 2-week-long fundraiser and fundraiser. And as part of that, we have some day sponsors who are sponsoring our activities every day. And so today's day sponsor is Foster Law Group. Foster Law Group PLLC handles the entire range of estate planning needs, providing guidance and perspective in the development of personal estate plans and the implementation of effective tax planning strategies. From simple wills and trusts to complex multi-generational planning, Foster Law Group serves all levels of client needs with care, responsiveness, and integrity. Dorothy Foster is a wonderful individual who has come to the Senior Center to present about advanced directives and so forth. And we're grateful for their support of our fundraiser, which next week will also include an outdoor waterfront thrift mini jumble sale, some fine boutique items available behind the Senior Center from 10 to 1, Monday through Friday of next week. And we're doing a trivia contest for people who sign up to our online activity. Today, though, we're going to talk about making the most of what we have and not throwing it away too soon. And when we do, throwing it in the right place. So we've got some great experts here from Zero Waste Bainbridge, the director of Zero Waste, Diane Landry, and also she's joined by Jane Martin and by Barbara Ochoda. Okoda, thank you. I'll get that right now. And thank you all for coming. And I'm just going to start with you, Diane, to talk a little bit about this is a project of Sustainable Bainbridge, and you guys are tireless in informing us about ways that we can be better citizens of the earth.
Yeah, we are a program of Sustainable Bainbridge. We came out of a Sustainable First Monday 10 years ago, and we've been on the go ever since, as you said, Reed. Every 2 times a year, we have a styrofoam recycling collection. We just 18 days ago, we got done with our I don't know, we're in the maybe 9th year now of doing that, and we filled 3 semi-truck trailer loads from Safeway. Safeway is sort of a sponsor this year. They offered to provide us with a big empty truck that they would backhaul to their facility in Auburn, and we filled it. We started at 10. We filled it by 1 on Saturday and called them and said, can we have another truck? So they dropped one off Saturday night. We filled that on Sunday, said, we need 1 more truck. So they brought one the next weekend to put all the bags that we had and coolers we had collected. So it's a very popular event. People are very appreciative. And, we asked for donations, and we got $3,300 this past collection. It was a record amount by far. So that's one of our most popular events. And then, Jane, do you want to speak about another little popular thing that we do called the Lending Library?
Right. We have a lending library, and it has metal utensils, tablecloths, napkins, glasses, and we lend things out to events so that single-use plastic items are not used. Last year, the year before, I think I estimated 10,000 plastic utensils were not used. So it started with metal utensils for the volunteers at the Rotary auction each meal. It drove me crazy to see plastic going in every meal. We green team would take 1 fork and use it all week, or 1 metal fork. So that's how we started, and people keep donating more items. And it was at my house, the lending library, and I said to Diane, perfect strangers are coming to my door. Come up to my bedroom and get tablecloths. So we now have a storage area at Woodward School, quietly, that we lend
in the trailer.
At Woodward. What did I say?
Yeah, well, you said Woodward School, but it's not in the school. It's
the storage area of the school on the property. So we are very quiet tenants there, and it's very nice. Except we're pretty much shut down because people are not having events.
Yeah, last year we had, I think, 85 events. So weddings, book openings, potlucks, neighborhood get-togethers. Yeah.
Memorial services.
And it's also an inspiration for those of us who have I think we used your support 1 year at the Senior Center, and then we were inspired to then just get our own and take care of it rather than, so we now at the Senior Center don't use plastic except
Right.
people always show up in the door with it, don't they?
Send them back. Yes. Take them back. Okay. Politely, yes. And it's amazing what people can come up with to make each event look unique and spectacular. I think cloth napkins just elevate an event in elegance, and it makes such a difference. And it's all borrowed stuff, and we don't charge. And then people make donations, and we buy more stuff for Accumulate or Goodwill or something. So,
And if somebody's interested in that, do they come to your house, Jane? Or
no,
how do they?
no, not anymore. It was so often people would borrow things and then return more. Co-housing and Yes did it, started at the beginning, and then I knew them, but then the word spread. So contact Zero Waste, Diane, and then you'll get assigned a librarian. Either Susan, Nell, myself, or Diane will be your coordinator to sign things out and then back in again.
Yeah, so the bi0waste@sustainablebainbridge.org address, but you just go to the Zero Waste website and you see how to communicate with us.
Okay, and for people who are watching this later, I will put a link in the description, and I'll grab one now for the chat.
Okay. And then another thing we try to do is education outreach, and not this summer because of COVID, but in previous summers we have always tabled monthly at the farmers market. And Barbara, I wondered if you wanted to speak to that.
Oh, sure. So our table, we have a table once a month, and we have a rotating theme. Sometimes the themes are related to an event that's happening on the island. For instance, when in the before times, when we had the trash and fashion show, after that event, our booth would display various garments that people had made for that show out of recycled or repurposed garments. But anyway, we have a monthly theme, and then we get a lot of questions, and some of them are from local residents, and a surprising number are from people who are visiting from out of town. So it's interesting to hear what they're doing, what successes they're having, what frustrations they're having. Some ways they're very similar, in some ways very different to us. But Farmers Market booth has been a really fun event. And we miss that. We miss being able to answer questions or get ideas and interact with people, because people are really concerned about this environmental problem that we're facing. So
Are there some frequent questions that you tend to get over and over, or is it all over the map?
I can't think off the top of my head. I mean, I think that they're all over the map. I know one thing that happened. I remember when it changed so that you could screw the top back on your empty water bottle. People were blown away by that. I mean, it was like hot off the press, big news item. And people share ideas with, what they're doing at home. But Diane, can you think of any consistent questions that we get?
I know another one. It used to be, can I recycle clamshells? The answer to that would be no. Just bottles, jugs, jars, and dairy tubs in terms of plastic.
And in general, just a frustration about why it's so confusing to know what can be recycled. That there's a real lack of clarity, shall we say.
Right. And can you describe for us a little bit about why that is, sort of structurally?
Well, different communities might send their recycling to different MRFs. A MRF, MRF, is a materials recovery facility, and that is where all our recyclables get dumped on a floor, a cement floor, and then get put onto a conveyor belt. And through mechanical means, like flat objects like paper, are sent one direction. Through I don't know what adjective to use for this, but like cans will get taken off because of magnetic pulses, and some, there are some pickers, just manual pickers, taking like jugs off the line. Some MRFs will take certain objects because they know they have somebody they can, and then those objects will get crushed into bales, and they'll have somebody who will buy those bales. And the cans will get made into new cans. The plastic will get made into maybe other kinds of plastic. But if they don't have somebody they can sell it to, they don't want it, because the recycling is a business. It's, for us, it's environmental, but for somebody actually doing it. It's a business, so they need somebody to buy their product. And if there's nobody buying it, why should they go to the effort of separating it out? So like in Seattle, they take more than we do, because actually they are, they're a big city, and they have they contract with different MRFs, and they can they just have, it's like having more buying power. They can set the terms more, and so they want to have a high recycling rate. Of course, everybody does. So they can ask the MRFs, hey, put this in your contract. We want you to take this too, because then we'll have a higher recycling rate. And this is where the myth of recycling comes about, where some of these plastics that people might put in their recycling actually don't have any use on the back end. Somebody might buy a bale of plastics, but there might just be certain, good plastics in there that they can then sell to somebody else to make into new plastic. But then there can be junk plastic in there that can't get transformed into new plastic. So our Kitsap County and Bainbridge Disposal, we send our recyclables to a MRF in Tacoma, and we just try to stick with the basics that we know will get recycled. And so we don't have an extensive list as for example, Seattle does. So it just varies from community to community.
Oh,
so
sorry.
Go ahead.
One other thing is that people are often surprised about all the things that can go in composting in our residential compost pickup. They're astonished that meat and bones can go in there. So it would be really great if at some time in the future we can do more outreach and education about that. And then one other thing, back to your question about why there's some confusion about recycling or composting. TNC, has the wonderful displays of what can be composted and recycled, but they have a contract with a different composting facility than Bainbridge Island Disposal. So what we can compost in our home bins with BI Disposal is different than what TNC can compost, except for composting. So that's a little bit of a schizophrenic approach to what's allowed and what's not.
Right. In that way, we end up with two jurisdictions right here in the same municipality. I know that I see that you have some lobbying, or at least suggestions for people who want to support a wider world of recycling on your website. Do you have an active advocacy arm, or are you mostly focused on trying to do the best we can with the options that are open to us?
We've been a little wary of being more advocacy oriented, just because we're a 503, and we've always wondered, well, how far can you push that? And I guess legally 25% of your efforts can be devoted to that. So we are trying to venture out into that area a little bit more. We were, even before COVID struck, trying to get an ordinance passed through that would, it's just like the tip of the iceberg, but to just make single use an effort for people to get, so they wouldn't automatically be given condiment packaging and plastic utensils with their takeout. They would have to either ask for it, or they would have to go to an area where it was out available, but they would have to go and pick it up themselves and decide for themselves that they wanted it. So that was on the table before, and so I hope we'll bring that back and try to get that through the city.
Yeah, we've had some difficulty, obviously, because of concerns about sanitation, that a lot of emphasis that your group and others have put out to try to get us to reuse our own shopping bags, or to avoid packaging at all possible, buy from a bulk food section. A lot of that is sort of by the wayside right now, while everything is being prepackaged or repackaged, or we're not allowed to bring in our own containers. Although there are some people I see who dutifully will take their full cart out of the shopping center and then fill up their bags outside, so that they aren't taking paper sacks. It's a little frustrating, I'm sure, for you guys right now to see this. It is for me, so I'm assuming for you, to see this kind of almost hyper focus on unreusable or at least difficult to reuse products.
Well, yeah, I mean, everyone, we didn't know what COVID was when it first came on the scene, but they're saying now since in June, 125 scientists and health professionals signed a letter saying, it doesn't really get transmitted from surface to, into your body. I guess when they tested this surface transmission, they put a really high concentration of whatever COVID is on a surface, and then had to see if it transmitted that way. But in real life, we don't have that concentration of particles in one spot that gets touched by people over and over again. So, they in that letter they advocated that people should be allowed to bring their bags into the grocery store. Just don't set it on the counter. Keep it in your cart, and then fill your groceries from the checkout counter to your cart. Although I've noticed, at TNC, they don't want you to take the time to do that. So you could just put it back in your cart and just walk a little bit away from the checkout stand, and then you can fill your bag that way. You don't have to go all the way out to your car to do it.
So I was just at TNC yesterday, and they now let you have your bag in your cart and let you fill it up. So that was a nice change to see. I tested that yesterday.
Oh, good. Okay.
So they let me do that. Yeah. And it might have just been the checker, but who knows?
Well, but as Diane said, you can just pull away a little bit and bag your own groceries that way.
Yeah.
So I want to get back to your question about advocacy, and just mention that there is a group that we are not affiliated with, but we are certainly kindred spirits with and interact with, and that is Zero Waste Washington. And they do a lot of advocacy, and they have great newsletter that just came out. Yesterday was a deadline to submit comments about a bill allowing reusable containers at food places, so you can take your own containers in and not be involved in any of that whole plastic mess. But they have a lot of other items that they're working on. So I strongly advise that you check out their website and support them if you can. Another thing they are doing, because of COVID, nobody can go on field trips, so they're doing a virtual field trip of a materials reclamation facility. Happens to be in BC, but still it's interesting to see how they work, and it kind of helps you think about how to recycle a little bit better when you've been there and you see what they're dealing with. So that's just a suggestion.
Yeah, I put a link to what I think is Zero Waste Washington in the chat.
Oh, great.
So I think that there's, when we were talking a little bit about the idea of these variety of different organizations making connections with individual businesses, given the concerns about climate change and in addition to just good old-fashioned tidiness, I'm hopeful that maybe we will start to be able to encourage our governments to think more broadly about the idea of the full cost of products and services. So it's not just about whether I'm going to be able to make a dime off of this particular product, but the kind of avoiding of the mess that is our landfills. Any thoughts about that? I know that Diane has talked to me before about the enormous amount of product that is put in landfills.
Well, there's something called the extended producer responsibility law, so Washington State, I think it was maybe the first state to require responsibility on the producers end of big electronics like TVs and computers, laptops. That so every time we buy any of those things, we pay a hidden cost in there, and on the back end, then there is free recycling of that offered to us. So at the transfer station on Bainbridge Island, they have a section where you put those items, and then they'll get recycled by a company that I think Total Recall it's called, and it'll be recycled responsibly. And so the same is true for let's see. It was going to start for paint this year, so in November, but that's been pushed back a bit. But a lot of times people wonder, what can I do with this 3/4 can full of paint? And if it's latex, you're supposed to dry it out, which is impossible with 3/4, or make that 55-minute trip to the hazardous waste facility out by the Bremerton Airport. But now at some point, it was passed into law in January, and at some point towards the end of this year or next year, we should be able to, there should be some place, maybe the paint store, I don't know, where we can drop off our oil and latex paints. But you know, each can of paint, there will be a little charge on there, just like now with light bulbs that contain mercury. There's a 25-cent charge in each light bulb, so that you can go to ACE, or you can go to Bainbridge transfer station to responsibly dispose of your mercury containing light bulbs. So there was a bill in the Senate, I think, in February that was proposed, called the Break Free from Plastic Pollution Act, and it's still on the table, but it was to make plastics producers responsible for the end life of their products. So putting a charge on, I'm not sure what category of plastics, but that was in the works. I'm sure you guys know that Oregon and 9 other states have a bottle bill, where when you buy, you know, a can of Coke or something, it has a 10-cent or 5-cent deposit fee on it, and you can turn those back in and get that money back. So that's a producer responsibility bill, sort of. Maridel Gale, who is a Sustainable Bainbridge board member, has been since the beginning. She helped get passed the very first bottle bill in the nation in Oregon. Anyway, this Break Free from Plastics Pollution Act is proposing a national bottle bill. And I think that's a really good idea, because you see all the time, like neighboring states that don't have the bottle bill, people will try, and they can make, you know, thousands of dollars doing this, bringing in bottles and cans from out of state into a state that has the redemption value, and cheating the system that way. So if we had a national bill, we'd have a lot less litter, because, you know, 60 to 90% of the bottles and cans get recycled in states that have the bottle bill. States that don't, it's a lot lower. It's, you know, maybe 10% to 40%. So it's a bill that works. And
so it's something that we could write to our congressmen or senators about. Is that?
Yeah, and it's been proposed by, I don't know which senator in this state before, but repeatedly, I think, that it hasn't gone through, and I don't know why. I haven't looked into it. Yeah, but that's, yes, you could.
Yeah, great. And I know that your website has a lot of other notes. I see that there's a upcoming opportunity to give tires, recycle tires, coming up very soon.
October 4th, Kitsap County is recycling them for free from residents. You can take up to 10, and they're able to do that because they got a grant from the Department of Ecology to run that. That's why we don't have household hazardous waste recycling on the island more than every other year, because it's very expensive to run those events. It costs like $30,000, I guess, to run that household hazardous recycling event on the island. Yeah. So in North Kitsap, they are going to be building in the next few years a recycling center, and there will be household hazardous waste recycling there. So in the next few years, we'll have a closer spot, at least, to recycle our stuff. Hazardous waste.
When we do have events, I know you guys are very active in fielding volunteers to help reduce the amount of waste that comes from something like the 4th of July or other big events. That must be a major job of organization. Care to talk a little bit about that?
Oh, okay, sure. Yeah, that's how we started out in terms of doing activities. We set up an event, but there's a lot of prep work, because we talk with the food vendors beforehand to make sure that they only serve their food in uncompostable dishware. And we subsidize their purchase of wooden utensils so that that can go in composting afterwards. We can't collect compostable plastic products like compostable plastic utensils or compostable plastic cups, because, as Barbara was saying before, our compost is going to a facility that doesn't want that material. So we work with the vendors beforehand, and then on the day of an event, we have different discard stations. Each station has a landfill container, a compost container, and a recycling container. And we have our zero waste volunteers standing there, because even with Jane's wonderful signs and her clothespin, the T-bar she has made where we clip the actual objects that go into the compost, people still, it's confusing. And sometimes we have to correct our signs. Sometimes we find out through trial and error what works best. And Yeah, and then we are able to divert about, it depends how big the festival is, anywhere from 75 to 90% of the stuff that would have gone into a landfill, we now have it going, either being recycled or going to get composted and turned into new soil amendment.
So do you have an open call for volunteers for those sort of things? Or if somebody's interested in helping out zero waste, what kinds of waste? Oh, there you go. That's very nice, Jane. If you, that's not gonna. You need to put on your microphone and tell us a little bit about it, Jane, so we know what you're looking at. She can't find her. Can't find her microphone. Mute. It's at the bottom. There we go.
There we go.
At first, I've been on this kind of.
Yeah. So show us your picture.
Okay. So, as an artist, as a visually oriented person, I wanted, when we first started to do signs, I wanted something that already had happened. I didn't want to reinvent the stop sign. What I kept saying to the committee was, can you imagine if a stop sign was purple in Paulsbo? It's red. We need to use the same kind of signage all through, and what's been done already. So green is the compost, blue is recycling, and black is landfill. So we pretty much know that. So I keep trying to use the same image, the same. Red is to stop, yellow is to slow down, green is go, what we're familiar with. So Diane and I stand and watch people. Are our signs doing this right? Are our signs causing people to put things in the right place? No, that needs to be there. That's confusing. So then I go home and make new signs and we test it and see. So we've been doing this over the years. So I think we've gotten it, that we really can see what these signs do. And then events are different. So you can put tape over this and write different things on the signs when you have an event. And part of the lending library is signs and buckets that we lend out for collection.
And we appreciate your hard work because we've used it at the senior center, though we don't have a lot of people here right now. We are also recycling puzzles and books. We have turned the East Wing into a book swap on Tuesdays and a puzzle swap on Thursdays. And we monitor, and we have a fan going right now. Oh, there you go. We have a fan going right now. And so we monitor and have people check in, and they can drop off puzzles. And although the fomite, the physical transmission of virus is somewhat diminished, the risk of that, as you say, Diane, has been proven to be minimal. We still are setting the donated books and puzzles aside for a week just to make people feel comfortable. And then the next week they're on the shelf, and so people can do that. And we'll keep doing that now that we're going to try to get some HEPA filters in here and monitor the number of people in the room so that we don't have people sharing air very much.
Yeah, Rita, I'm so glad you're doing that. You know, that's reusing, and reusing is always preferable to recycling because it takes energy to transport recyclables and then to change them back into a different product. Where reusing, you know, you just take that object and then use it again. So we always like to see people think reuse before they think recycle.
And I wanted to ask you about volunteers. If this is something that somebody wants to help out with, do they just send you a note and they go to work right away?
Yes, somebody wrote in asking, what does your farmers market green team do, for example? Yeah, we have a page on our website where it talks about the different ways that people can volunteer, and yes, they can write in and ask questions. We also have a semi-monthly newsletter, and whenever we need volunteers, we put it in that newsletter, and people can sign up for that newsletter on our website. Also, there's a newsletter section on the website where you can write in to be on it, or at the bottom of any page. Yeah. So thank you for asking that.
And we do not share anybody's contact information. If you sign up for our newsletter, it stays only with us.
Good. We're the same way. If you want to find out what's going on at the senior center, you can sign up at our website. But I want to thank you all. Is there anything else we want to mention today before I let you go? This has been very informative. Yeah?
No, I guess not. No, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you for having us, Reed. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much for all you do, and look forward to working with you in real life, IRL, pretty soon.
Yeah.
Okay.
Soon
All right,
enough.
thanks.
Okay. Bye bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you so much.